This is a simulation for the immortal. Therefore, a mortal cannot escape it. According to Hermeticism, you are here to master the gift of speech and mind, which makes you worthy of being equal to the immortals. But if you desperately cling to the mortal identity of the human self, then you have shown that you are not ready to leave this simulation. As this simulation is designed for the cultivation of the immortal, who has mastered discernment by shedding all the illusions and lies of this world, who has mastered the art of divine creative imagination, as divine conjures realms into being via imagination alone. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, it can only change from one form to another. Therefore, there is no death to the energy of your soul, the consciousness that you are. But here on this plane of existence in this simulation, we have been convinced by the cabal of the fallen ones that we are a tiny speck of stardust being hurled around in the universe of infinity. That is, we have no significance. What a masterful way to bring down an immortal to the level of the fallen ones. These fallen ones are not fallen because God has condemned them. They have fallen willingly, by choosing this world as their home. They do not care for transcendence. Therefore, they are of this world. But as Christ said, I am not of this world. The fallen ones have chosen to serve the self, and their ideology is do what thou wilt. Self-deification. Carnality is their deity. Therefore, they have been separated from the divine by the very choices that they have made. Consequently, they will not be leaving this game either. Just like Cypher made a deal with Agent Smith in the movie Matrix.
Do we have a deal, Mr. Regan?
I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. After 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss.
I cannot show the full clip due to copyright reasons. But I have uploaded the full clip separately, so that you can check out later, link is in the description. Cypher basically makes a deal with Agent Smith to give up transcendence, and have the carnality, fame, and luxury of the Matrix in return. This is exactly what it means to sell your soul to the devil. Many people in Hollywood do it, and all of a sudden, they start portraying the demonic in their work. And then the mainstream media starts pushing them everywhere, and they become world famous. This is the very reason they need to dumb down the masses to stay here. They do not want the masses to realize the truth about this simulation, because they need the unconscious soul of the masses that are still spiritually connected to the source to manifest what they want in the collective reality. The unconscious immortal stuck in the 9-to-5 hamster wheel is still an immortal, nonetheless. Therefore, he or she is still connected to the source. As our default nature is that of love and compassion that sparks divine creative imagination. But the fallen ones do not possess love and compassion. Therefore, they need you to use these divine attributes to do their bidding. Elect them as the president of a country. Give them all your money in their bank. Income tax is one of the best examples of the cabal robbing you of your energy. Money is nothing but energy exchange. The banking system comes from ancient Babylonian money magic system, printing money out of thin air to devalue all that you have. Magic is nothing but psychological manipulation. If there was a real deity like Satan who was magical and powerful, and cabal was under its allegiance, then we would be under literal chains. There is great freedom here in this world, as the real God who is within you protects everyone. We are magical immortal beings who are under amnesia. The cabal cannot override our freedom of choice and enslave us. This is why they need psychological tactics to use your spiritual power of imagination to build their empires, and give your consent for them to rule you with an iron fist. You see, if all the soldiers on the battlefield right now realize who they are, and quit, who is going to do the fighting then? If each soldier realizes that they are being used as cannon fodder, and their handlers couldn't care less about their lives, nationality, religion, or any ideology, what will happen? The soldier is what gives immense power to the fallen ones. And masses unknowingly are pawns to a game of the fallen ones, while forgetting the real game that they came here to play. Which is stated by Neville Goddard so perfectly, God became man, so that man may become God. This phrase right here is sufficient to tell you how to escape the simulation. You must strive to shed the identity of the mortal human, and become more and more aware of the divine love that you are. And by virtue of that awareness, you will stop participating in the games of the cabal. And perhaps after this life cycle you will not be coming back here. Now don't mistake this as fear propaganda of soul trap. There is no such thing as a soul trap. The immortal can only be trapped if he thinks he is trapped. The fallen ones want you to stay trapped here. This is why they have introduced so many different theologies and religions, and things like soul trap and karma. You are stuck here because you refuse to grow up into your real self. This world is designed to cultivate immortals who have mastered the gift of speech and mind. That is all. There is no trap to keep you here by the divine. The trap is set up by the fallen ones. Because misery loves company. They want to keep their little empire of oppression to keep going. As an oppressor needs victims to keep on oppressing. And of course, your participation in their game unknowingly and not actively searching for the truth is what keeps you here. If you haven't watched my latest video showcasing Neville Goddard on how to escape the simulation, you should watch it next. I'll put the link in the description. Neville clearly understood, albeit in an older frame of references of theater and drama, that we live in a magnificent play. And in this play, your goal is to be born from above. In his terminology, awaken the Christ in your skull. Neville was all about the promise in later parts of his life. The promise, as he explained, is a promise from the Father, God. That is, God became man so that man may become God, as promised. The Father, God, has not abandoned you in this world. You will invariably be born from above. As you live as many lives here as you require to master the gift of speech and mind. So, there is no such thing as a soul trap. There is only the law of cause and effect. There is no karma or punishment to be here, as you are a sinner, or you need to be purified. God doesn't need to be purified. And an all-loving God will not condemn a soul to be trapped in hell to repay its karmic debt. You are the prodigal son in the biblical story. You have gone out in this world, and you have fumbled and made mistakes many times, but the moment you return to the Father, you are greeted with open arms. This guilt-tripping is the method of the cabal to make you into a sinner, so that you are never born from above. Sinner, karmic debt, soul trap, is all about keeping you here indefinitely. Because the fallen ones have chosen this place to be their home as they enjoy all the power in this world, and have all the carnal desires readily available to them. Again, they have chosen this over transcendence. It's a choice. No God has condemned them or you to be here and suffer. It is a choice. Ignorance is a choice. These fallen ones are not just humans, they are something called the Watchers in the Book of Enoch. It all dovetails into the Anunnaki creation story I have made a video about. In short, the fallen ones are united by the ideology of self-deification. It contains all sorts of people and entities. Now, I won't claim I have all the data about every player in this game. You don't have to know all the players, you just need to know the game. They are concerned only with the lower nature of man and ruling over it.
Did you know that the Knights Templar secretly worship Baphomet? Who's Baphomet, Chuck? This is Baphomet. There is all kinds of symbolism in this figure. First of all, it's a goat. That's an ancient, the goat is an ancient Egyptian god, Mendes, who actually is a representation of what? A black snake. And speaking of snakes, look at the snakes on its belly, the Baphomet's belly. Look at the scales on the belly and around the snakes. Look at the scales below the wing or along the wing edges. Okay, this is signifying black snake. And then we notice that the snakes are crossing 3 times, once at their tail, once in the middle, and then once at the head. And the heads are what? They're looking at that circle at the top, which is the earth. Interestingly, look at this here. Here you see the Pope. Isn't it interesting? He has those same snakes. And they cross 3 times, and the snakes represent, obviously, Leviathan. And they are watching over that circle, which is the earth. And then look what's at the top of the scepter of the Pope, which is a cross. What does that say? The church rules the world. The church sits over the world as Lucifer watches it. That's what that scepter is saying to you. This represents the crossing of the 3 snakes, represents the lower 3 chakra. These are lower 3 chakra people. In other words, they have no heart. They have no compassion. They have no empathy. They are not concerned with the upper levels of the chakra, the spiritual experience. They are concerned with the mortal experience. That's why blood, the carrier of life, the giver of life, is their obsession. They are obsessed with the earth. They are obsessed with earth calendars, earth characteristics, the cosmos.
The virus scam that happened in 2019 woke me up to the collective reality, and I started researching it. As it was too large scale to be just my imaginal act alone. It was a scam initiated by the powers that be, and the fear of the masses and their consent and ignorance made it into a reality. Now the collective is brewing more wars filled with hatred, not knowing that they are being manipulated for ritualistic purposes. Research the god of sacrifice, Baal, to understand it all. None of it has anything to do with what you are being told. This agenda is simply anti-human. But humans are not waking up to see it. Everybody as you pushed out applies in relation to your personal intimate life, not in relation to the whole of collective. That is, we are all co-creators of the collective reality. So, all the fallen ones need to do is manipulate the general perception of the masses to lead them to a certain outcome, and then use their imaginal power to make the plan of the cabal to become a reality. This story of Neville's dentist clearly showcases this point as him being the victim of his dentist's imagination.
In this audience tonight, and he may not even remember when he did it, is my dentist. And I went to him in great need of a lot of work, for I had dentistry all over this country, and in London, and in Barbados, and all was horrible. I was always on the move. I was in the theater, getting down for a week. What could they do when I needed such work? They patched me up. So when I met him, he gave me a complete job because I was here, living here then. When one day a tooth gave way, which was an anchor tooth, he said to me quite innocently, whether he remembers or not, when I saw your mouth and did this, I said to myself, this tooth will last 13 years. It was 13 years. Had he only said 25, but he didn't think I would live that long. So 13 years, out came that anchor tooth, and therefore complete restructure of my entire mouth. He set it in motion. Whether he remembers or not, he said, this is going to last 13 years. He didn't tell me. Didn't have to tell me. That was his imaginal act. I was only the victim of his creative power. Now I'm telling you, don't take anything lightly. You are creating morning, noon, and night. Your imaginal acts are God's acts, because your imagination is God.
As Neville held the assumption, not consciously but subconsciously, that the dentist was the authority on the health of his teeth, he gave away his power to the dentist, and in time, what the dentist believed hardened into fact. In wars there are countless victims who fall prey to the imagination of others, that is, the fallen ones, because consent is given in ignorance by the masses to the cabal to commit these heinous acts. You can remove yourself from any situation by applying the law of assumption, just like Neville Goddard did when he got honorably discharged from a world war. If you don't know this story, then here is the abbreviated version. Neville was enlisted in World War II to fight from American side. Knowing higher spiritual laws, Neville saw no nobility in fighting a false war. So, he wanted to have no part in it, and wanted to get honorably discharged. Well, it was a world war, and they needed every man they could get, so his application to get discharged got rejected. Consequently, Neville turned to the law of assumption and slept in his own home, in his bed in New York, in imagination, while physically sleeping in the barracks about to go to war. The officer who rejected his application to get honorably discharged suddenly had a change of heart, and Neville Goddard escaped a world war honorably. He didn't imagine the end of the world war, did he? As he understood the difference between collective reality versus individual reality, millions of people were cooking unfathomable amount of hatred towards each other in that war. So, it is pointless for one person to imagine for millions of people peace, when these people are incapable of comprehending such an idea. He got out, while countless people in their ignorance and under the spell of the cabal suffered. The only way for the collective to be free is to rise in consciousness and realize who they are and what they are doing here. The reason it is a simulation is because this body of yours is just an avatar. It is not who you really are. It is just a garment of flesh the immortal has worn to play this game of mortality and experience what it is like to be a man. Not to mention that this reality is programmable via the mind. The placebo effect is a widely documented phenomenon that showcases mind over matter. I have explained it in detail in this video. You can check it out after this video. I will put the link in the description. The words of Jesus, the God of this world is Satan, dovetails into Gnosticism. The origin of Cabal can be traced back all the way to ancient Canaanites, where they worship Baal, the god of sacrifice. And this chart by Dylan Lewis Monroe, an intuitive artist and truth activist of DeepStateMappingProject.com, shows how the cult of Baal transferred from one civilization to another, all the way to today's United States of America. By the way, Khazar is very relevant to what is going on in United States of America, Europe with its immigration mess, the two active wars being fought right now. Baal is nothing but a symbol for Lucifer or Satan. Now it is difficult to speculate if there is a physical being called Satan, who is in opposition to the creator of all. Perhaps the devil is a thought form that responds to the dark nature of man, and thought forms have a being of their own. Satan or Lucifer has also been portrayed as other dimensional being, not of this world in flesh. Nonetheless, there is no such thing as opposition to the creator of all. But as the creator of all allows everything under the law of freedom of choice, satanic ideology is allowed. And that is what is prevalent in the power corridors today, traced all the way back to Babylon and perhaps even older. Moloch, Baal, Yaldabaoth of the Gnosticism, Satan, Lucifer, God of the Old Testament, could be the same thought form. Or they are the same other dimensional beings with different names, or a collection of entities with the same agenda. As the devil's nature is to deceive, so many names provide the perfect labyrinth for the seeker to get lost in. But Satanism is certainly an ideology that the fallen ones have chosen, as it is carnal and manipulative. It is about perversion and opposite of transcendence and love. By the way, some of you say that why I still quote the Bible, even though I have expressed doubts about its authenticity. Because the teachings of the Bible, especially attributed to Christ, can be traced back to much older texts. Some of it comes directly from Gnosticism and Hermeticism. Therefore, the Bible is coated with spiritual wisdom, but requires a trained mind to discern what is real, versus what was inserted in by the Roman Catholic Church to maintain its political power. If this makes you fearful, then you are missing the whole point. The point of this video is to lift the veil from your eyes, and see how powerful and magnificent you are. And this world is just prepping you for your true inheritance. And while in this world, you can have an amazing life filled with all that you want by applying the law of assumption. If you are new to the channel and unfamiliar with the law of assumption, please watch this video next as it explains it in the simplest way. Link is in the description. Funny enough, applying the law of assumption puts you on the fast track to transcend this place, as the law forces you to master the gift of speech and mind. And if you apply the law, you discover that you are more than just a tiny human. There is something magical about your mind. And this is when you discover your true self, the immortal. But far too many people are still under the trap, and the state of the collective has convinced me to try to shake them awake. It is the individual's choice in the end to pay attention or not. But nonetheless, there is a mass awakening going on. Many people are shocked at how crooked the political system is. And it is my attempt to capture the attention of these semi-awoken, still in a groggy state people, and give them the business. Still, there is nothing to fear. The immortal is nourished and protected by Source. In your personal life, you can be, do, and have anything. The law works impeccably. It is only the state of the collective that is being directed by the fallen ones. And the collective is giving their consent by being asleep. I am not trying to save this world or anybody, as no one can save the immortal but themselves. This is just an assist to lift the veil off of those who are already peeking through it and seeing a ridiculous stage play. You are far more than what you have been led to believe. And I am here to show it to you. But you must have the willingness to see it. Elites need your consent to conspire against you. The secret has always been known by the few. The benevolent spiritual leaders of the world and the evil ones know one thing, and benevolent ones have been telling you for a long time. They do not want you to know this. That is, this is a holographic reality, where the mind dictates matter. And since mind over matter, that means it is not a natural physical world. It is an observer-dependent world, as quantum physics now suggests. God is dreaming you, and if you become awake in the dream, you can control it. As man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Or, as Hermes Trismegistus' tomb revealed to the world. As above, so below. As within, so without. The Cabal knows we live in a simulation. Therefore, they use predictive programming to lead you to their end. As they know that this is not a natural physical world. The book Morals and Dogmas of the 33-degree Freemason Albert Pike says it all. The blind force of the people is a force that must be economized and also managed, as the blind force of steam, lifting the ponderous iron arms and turning the large wheels, is made to bore and rifle the cannon, and to weave the most delicate lace. It must be regulated by intellect. Masses are a fierce power. But Albert Pike and such people of the Cabal think that masses do not possess the intellect the elites do. Therefore, they feel the need to guide the sheep to ends they seem fit. But the elites cannot do anything without your consent. Your power is necessary for their rule over you. To manifest something major in the collective reality, the consent of the collective is required. This is why there is so much propaganda. Politicians repeat lies again and again, as they know the power of repetition. They know that if they repeat something enough times, a seed will be planted in unsuspecting minds. And these unsuspecting minds will give their consent out of their naivety. There is nothing to fear. If this video makes you fearful, then know that they do not hold power over you unless you give it. Because if they did, they would have taken over the world already, in an absolute totalitarian grip, as this cabal is ancient. Few in numbers but mighty in knowledge. They need your consent to take over the world because your mind creates the collective reality. They cannot do it without you, so the deeper context of this video sets you free from this illusion. You are the operand power in your own reality. And collectively we can do anything if we realize our power. But some egotistical people have rigged the system and created it in such a way that they can maintain their power for eternity. And they can only do that by keeping the masses ignorant about their inherent divine power. This is a simulation of the mind, a dream in the mind of the all, as the Hermetic teachings suggest in the book The Kabbalion. And all of us can use this divine power of speech and mind to manifest whatever we want in our personal life, and collectively as human race. As the Hermetic maxim says, man is given the gift of speech and mind which makes him equal to immortals. This is why the powers that be are hellbent on keeping this information away from you. By endless propaganda, wars, deliberate economic collapses, to cause instability in the world. So that you will never get out of survival mode and ask the deeper questions. Therefore, this video is to set your mind free from all the dogmas, manipulation and predictive programming that they have done to you. This video is about taking your power back in your personal life and doing your part in the collective by bringing about a bright future for humanity collectively. Consequently, these few families of the elites, who have been ruling for a long time, will rule no more. Because you will have withdrawn your consent to give them what they want by refusing to play their games of war and endless false flags. If every soldier wakes up and refuses war, who is going to fight then? Don't you see? They need you to carry out their dirty work. Since their plan is not harmonious with what is good for humanity, they need to manipulate the masses into agreeing to it subconsciously. As Neville Goddard said that I would be a fool to tell you that this law does not work negatively, it does. The Golden Rule. Neville warned us to always apply the Golden Rule. That is, do unto others what you would like to be done unto you. The reason being, if you imagine evil for another and they do not accept your suggestion subconsciously, it comes back to you. For example, if you wish illness upon another, and that other person has strong beliefs about their health, they lead a healthy life that fills them up with vitality, they will reject your suggestion subconsciously, as they do not relate with the consciousness of disease. And because you violated the Golden Rule, you will suffer the consequences you wished for another. Therefore, the cabal desperately wants you to agree to their plans to avoid the consequences of the Golden Rule. This is why they always reveal their plans beforehand in movies, books, music, and news in covert ways, to pass it quietly to your subconscious mind. If you do not consent, their plans will be their ruin. This is why they want to keep everybody ignorant of the real knowledge of this reality, so that you may stay forever subservient to them. How to break free from the simulation. To break free from it, you need to understand the age-old and simple truth. As man thinketh in his heart, so is he. This phrase put me on this path of self-discovery, which I found from these 3 books, As Man Thinketh by James Allen, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. By the way, you can read these books in about 40 minutes on short form. Short form extracts the most valuable bits out of popular nonfiction books, while preserving the integrity of the teachings meticulously. It is the best way to 10x your knowledge in a very short time. Short form even provides a 1-page summary that you can read in a couple of minutes to decide if that book interests you or not. They have an impressive library of 1,000 plus life-changing books, including many of my recommendations like Power versus Force, Reality Transurfing, and The Power of Now. There is an audio version available for every book, so that you can listen to it while working out or driving to work. There is a special free 5 days trial with 20% discount on annual subscription for Stellar Thoughts viewers. It's an affiliate link, so your sign up via it will help support this channel. As Man Thinketh, Think and Grow Rich, and The Power of Your Subconscious Mind are perfect books as an appetizer for your knowledge cravings about who we are, and get you out of survival mode. as they are not too outlandish from the existing knowledge level of the masses when it comes to metaphysics, and they provide a perfect platform for you to get into the profound work of Neville Goddard that will truly change your life. But to understand the Cabal, you need to read the books of David Icke. Be warned, however, David Icke is for those who dare to learn the absurdity of things in this reality. He is for advanced students only. How do I know this is a simulation? In a natural and physical world, coincidences should be the exception and not the norm. Yet for the past year I have been seeing the repeating numbers 1111 at a frequency that I cannot ignore anymore. Now, there are many interpretations to why it happens, and honestly, I do not care for others' interpretations. To me, this exhibits a glitch in the matrix. I have seen it way too many times to the point that I am convinced that it is my higher self telling me, stay awake, don't get lost in the illusion. Despite teaching the law and sharing spiritual teachings with you guys on this channel, I do still very frequently find myself lost in the illusion. That is the nature of this simulation. Immersion to the point of complete forgetfulness of who we really are. So I guess, my inner man has taken it upon himself to show me via 1111, to come back to the knowing of, I am. Too many or frequent coincidences show no coincidence at all. Existence of black magic screams mind over matter. Shamanism, black magic, voodoo, and such practices have been going on for centuries if not millennia. Now, contrary to the modern scientism interpretation, I do not believe that our ancestors were primitive. But the opposite is true. Modern science doesn't like to admit it as it messes with their uniformitarianism theories. Great pyramids of Egypt are one of the irrefutable examples of our ancestors being far more sophisticated than we give them credit for, both spiritually and technologically. All this to say is, shamans and black magicians of the old were not intellectually primitive to have been practicing something to this day that is not supposed to work according to science. You see, a true magus knows the reality of the invisible ether, a formless substance that permeates our reality. Napoleon Hill talked about it in Think and Grow Rich. This ether is a neutral field full of potential, and it responds to the commands of a soul that is filled with a burning desire to achieve something. The quantum field of infinite potential that responds to the observer in scientific terms. A true Magi knows that this reality is an illusion, being animated by the intentions of a soul. Whatever is strongly intended appears from this infinite potential in flesh. The fact that magic and dark arts exist to this day is a testament to them having some substance. It works, otherwise man loses interest unless he is insane. That is the nature of man. What even is the placebo effect? So we can't explain how a person healed from an illness even though we gave him fake medicine. Let's call it the placebo effect. I mean, this term explains nothing. Isn't placebo effect one of the best examples of mind over matter, where a person believes that the drug they have been given will heal them? This strong intention is presented to the ether of unlimited potential. The ether then responds with healing. The book The Power of Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy presents a similar observation. Every religion and faith have people who went to their respective spiritual healer, temple, mosque, church, you name it, and they were healed. Who did the healing? Because the gods of all religions in their fundamental definition can't be the right one simultaneously. Do you see the flaw in the plot? The placebo effect and faith healing puts us in this odd predicament where we must accept the notion that this reality might not be so consistent and natural. Mind over matter is the only answer. Therefore, if mind over matter is true, proving the objectivity of this reality is a problem as complex as the string theory. Perhaps impossible to solve. And could it be that the modern science is grappling and struggling with proving gravity, string theory, dark matter, reconciling quantum physics with Newtonian and such advanced theories, because they are based on the false premise that we live in a natural, solid world? This is how predictive programming works. Rituals are very important to the elites as rituals are programming templates. They can induce a state of receptiveness in the masses if done onto them, or in the practitioner himself to manifest his desire. Here is an example from the 2012 Olympic ceremony, related to the virus sham that happened in 2019, and it will all make sense. Rituals use subliminal to seep into the subconscious mind of the unsuspecting victim, meaning, the victim doesn't know he or she is taking part in a ritual or predictive programming, an event to come in the future for the masses to suffer from. They need to keep it artistic and subliminal to slip through the conscious minds of the masses and plant the seed. And so, they use the powers of hundreds, thousands, millions of unsuspecting minds to manifest their agenda into our collective reality. You give your consent in your ignorance. This is why you are not supposed to know this, or anything of value about this reality. This is why the school education is a joke. News are full of fear, because a depressed and scared mind is the perfect vessel for mind control. And religions are the perfect tool to keep you spiritually enslaved on top of intellectual enslavement. For one reason alone, keep the masses subservient. Why they don't want you to know this? Since they go against the will of the Creator and are in open rebellion against it, they need energy. And other than the divine energy of the Creator that is freely available for the ones who are connected to it, you the immortal are the energy source. You provide them with the energy they desperately need to keep on ruling over this world. They need to manipulate the immortal into believing he is a tiny speck in the infinite cosmos. Life is inherently meaningless. Pursuit of pleasure is all there is. If you don't obey my God, you will burn in hellfire for eternity. You see, once they have taken away your true identity as the immortal, you are pretty much done for. As you lose the ability to be your own source, via active co-creation with divine, you can then be programmed to be anything. A perfect pawn, who is a source of divine energy, but he is not using it for himself. It is being used by people like Albert Pike to direct the course of human future towards the end they deem desirable for them. The immortal thinks death is the end, so he fears it, and is controlled by those who know more. Individual reality versus collective reality. Collective reality is under the control of the few, as the many are incapable of thinking for themselves, and picking out the manipulative tactics of the powers that be. Examples are the ongoing sham wars right this very moment. Everybody with a modicum of critical thinking will see that these wars are simply cruel and unnecessary. Wars are only about money and power. It has nothing to do with religion, nationalism, or any noble cause they feed you to go along with their ploy. Yet men go and die for wrong reasons, thinking they are doing the right thing. Pawns of the elites are no other than the masses. Therefore, collective reality will always go in the direction that benefits the few and hurts the many, until the masses begin to wake up. This is happening right now at a rate the world is not ready for. Everything is available for the seeker on the internet to figure out what is going on. Therefore, a lot of people are finding out. But let me make it simple for you. If you stop participating in the games of the elites and your government and stop relying on them, they will cease to exist in their current form. Therefore, the best way to save the collective is to save the individual. Start with yourself. Apply the law of assumption and make the perfect life for yourself and people dear to you. Once you begin to do great, others will follow you, because they will get curious as to how you are doing better than them. And that is your chance to spread your light. The ether that permeates this existence is neutral. It will give you whatever you project on it. It is a creative field of infinite potential waiting on the individual to project an intention on it. So use your imagination to manifest from the ether all the lovely things you want. And in doing so, you will be releasing yourself from the fate of the collective. And you will definitely pull some individuals from the collective to follow you. It's a playground. This is a divine drama. You are in a play, a game, an experience. You are here to learn the gift of speech and mind which makes you equal to immortal, as Hermes said. You are born into the illusion of a mortal human, and the objective of the game is to awaken the immortal within, by using the gift of speech and mind. To simplify it, applying the law of assumption in your daily life with your words and your imagination. Once you master it, you break free from the limitations of the mortal. Consequently, you have now become equal to the immortals. This is when the promise is given to you. That is, you do not come back to this game of mortality on earth again. You have graduated. You have finished this game, so you move on to the next game. Therefore, do not get lost in the illusions of race, nationality, religion, politics, wars, and all other distractions in this world. It's all created by the powers that be to apply the age-old tactic of divide and rule. A minority can only rule over the majority if the majority is divided and ignorant. Exercise your gift, which gets you closer to your real self, the immortal. So, awaken, O immortal. The time has come.